Nordgren. I'm a co-owner of Chalk and Fable Upholstery. Here in Utah, we have locations in Kentucky also. I just thought that maybe we should start doing some videos so you can learn how to just do simple upholstery at home. You can save a lot of money, you can find great deals, and it's super simple if you get the right tools. I actually found these dining chairs. You can see in the back, there's 4 Restoration Hardware dining chairs, and then there's 2 other armchairs that were Restoration Hardware, and I bought them all as a group for a really, really good deal, and they were in great shape. So I brought them home, and you can honestly do whatever you want to them. If you'd like to change the color up, or if you'd like to keep the wood the same, you can just kind of touch them up with some wood polish. Or what I did is, if you come look close up, this was already a little distressed, so I used more white wax to just go in, and so it got in the wood grain, and I like the older look. I really like that look with the cane back. I also love the look of natural linen. You can use whatever you prefer. We like to keep the naturals together. Chalk and Fable is known for that, and so I'm keeping them like this. These will be for sale. What I do like about these dining chairs is they're super simple to reupholster. You can just strip off the fabric. What you want to do is kind of keep the top. If it's in good condition, the foam, you want to keep it, and you don't have to replace it, so it saves you a lot of money because foam is really expensive now. After you take off the fabric, you want to make sure that all the nails are taken out, or the staples, if it came with nails or staples. You want to kind of clean up the edges. These are the tools that I like to use. I like to use a staple remover. You can buy these on Amazon, Walmart. You can go to an upholstery online site. They have them there. I also like these wire cutters, and if you have the ones with the spring inside, they open up by themselves, and it's like so much easier to use. So I take it and I kind of just like go in and just take out the staples as I go. And if they're flat, I leave them in. If they're sticking up, I take them out. And here, this has a ton of glue, and maybe I just go through and just scrape that off. So to get started to reupholster, after you're done stripping the whole chair, and you do want to do the wood however you want before you even upholster, because you do not want, and you don't want to be doing the upholstering, the wood, before you take off the fabric. So go ahead and take all the fabric off before you even start on the wood if you want to change the color, or if you want to change the look of it, because then you might miss some pieces when you do strip the fabric off. Everybody has these retractable measuring tapes. These are not really great for measuring your fabric. So you want to measure your seat with a sewing tape. It's so much easier. Get the widest point of your chair, and that's what you're going to measure. So I always do 1 inch over on each side. So this would be about 27 inches. So that is the width of the fabric that you want. And then I come to the back to the front, which is, I give about 1 inch, about 25 inches. So if you know that you want the pattern going this way on your fabric, you know that the measurement from here to here was 27 inches, and from front to back was 25. So that is how you're going to place your fabric on the cutting table. So if you're like me, you forget the measurement that you just took, and so you have to keep going back. And instead of doing that, get yourself a notepad. It's going to save you so much time. So I kind of draw out what I'm doing. I draw out the seat. The width was 27 inches, and the depth was 25 inches. Then I come to my cutting board. You guys, I found this fabric, this linen fabric in Portugal, and I brought it home to do my own chair, and I couldn't find the color that I wanted for these chairs. So I'm using my fabric from Portugal, and I'm so sad, but hopefully these chairs sell because I know they're gonna look fabulous with this. But so this is my cutting board. This is a big cutting board. You really don't need this big of a cutting board if you're not gonna always be doing projects. A small one works. Maybe you can even do it on your kitchen counter and use scissors, but these are really handy. This also is an awesome ruler that you can get at Home Depot, Lowe's, Harbor Freight. It's metal. I also have a rotary cutter, works fabulous. It's so much easier than scissors. What I do is I just get a little pencil, mark my fabric. I want the fabric to go this way width-wise because I can see the grain in the fabric. So you measure it out. Make sure that you cut off your selvage edge. You don't want that on your chair. So what I do is I just get as close as I can to the edge. Those little dots are going to be covered, so it doesn't matter. I put it out to 27 because that's how wide my chair is that I measured. And I just put a little line right there. Measure it out this way. And I had written that it was 25 in depth. So I just come over and just measure it out this way. And I do the same on this side. You can fold the fabric in half and it'll cut two pieces at the same time. I'm always looking to save time because I'm busy. If you just like get your rotary cutter and cut it over and down, you'll have two pieces. I have already cut my pieces out. I kind of like to do them all at the same time because then I don't have to keep going back to my table. So I'll have them all ready and done, and then I just kind of drape them over my chair the way that I want them to go with the grain, and then I go to work. What you do want to do is make sure that the bottoms are good before you even start the project, because that's one thing that if it's sagging or if it needs reconstructive work, you want to do that before you even do the top part. So this is a chair that I haven't gotten to yet. If you put the fabric on and it feels a little short, it's because that is the width of the 25. So you flip it. This is the way that you want it to go. So my grain is running widthwise. I place the fabric exactly how I want it to fit on the chair. So I make sure that there's about an inch in the front. This is how I measured it, to have about an inch in the front so I can tuck and pull and staple. And then I make sure I have an inch in the back to staple. On the sides, I pull on each side and make sure that there's an even amount on each side. To get started, you guys, when I first started about 5 years ago to do upholstery, this is what I started with. You can get these at Hobby Lobby, maybe Walmart, Home Depot. It's a hand tacker. That you can kind of get them, I think, like where they sell the canvas boards. But if you're going to be doing big projects, lots of projects, this will get your hand so fatigued. I don't recommend it unless you're doing small projects. You can get by for these little chairs, but if you're going to be doing a lot, this is a great heavy duty stapler. It's Porter cable. Anyway, so if you have a compressor, it's for compressed air. It is like so fabulous. I think I just bought a new one. The last one lasted about 3 years, and I go through tons of staples, boxes and boxes of staples. My garage is a disaster. It's my shop, I work in it, so don't judge. These are the staples that I get. You can get them on Amazon. Just make sure they fit the stapler that you get, but this is about 10,000 staples a box, and I go through a whole box in a couple of projects sometimes. So make sure you have enough staples. These are so easy to use. It has a lever. Don't put your hand on the trigger ever. It has a lever that you just click down here to load and unload the staples. Super easy. You kind of feel cool when you're like popping them in and shutting it and ready to go. Okay, we're gonna get started. This is the fun part. You're gonna feel like super cool because when you're done, you're gonna feel so accomplished. And a lot of people think that they can't do this, and you really, really can. So what you want to do, first staple, you bring the fabric down, make it tight, you put in your first staple. You want to kind of like slide it over and do just another one over. So these are staples that you want to have just in case, a little spread apart, just in case you need to take them out and you kind of, sometimes you mess up. That's why we have the staple remover. And I still mess up, you guys. I've been doing this for a long time and I still do. I'm not perfect, but you want to be able to get them in as close as you can to the edge right there. They're not always going to go in perfect. Look at that one, but you know what? It works. It's holding the fabric. So you want as many staples as you can, just right here, just to hold it down. We'll go back and fill in the gaps. Next, you kind of want to push the fabric back. Make sure it's fitted and that it's not bunchy or there's no loose fabric where it's going to bunch up in the middle. You kind of want it flat. So you push it back. Get some really good sharp scissors. Any kind will work as long as they're fabric scissors. Okay, so I fold my fabric back right here. You don't want to cut it really short. You don't want to cut it right at the edge because the fabric has to tuck in. If you cut it too far over, then it's going to show a big gap with your foam in the back. So I kind of just cut it right up to maybe there. Do you see how there's a little space right there? I then come and cut a little bit more so that I can tuck it in. So then we just fit it right into the foam behind the arm and just cut that little piece off. And do you see how that fits right inside that little cushy spot? So we're at the back now. We want to put a couple of staples here in the middle to hold it. So what I do is I bring the fabric back tight and I know where I'm going to put a staple right in the middle to hold it. So you want to hold it at the same tension as you go along, because if not, you're going to have little bunching lines. And a little bit is okay. So if you have a little bit, you'll pull it tighter to the side to hold on to it so that it won't make those lines. And then you just go back and fill in. Okay, so you see that it fits perfectly on the sides now, because right here we cut it a little wider that we're gonna have to go in and just kind of fold it in and pull it down to where it's the edge is closed right there where you can't see inside the chair. And then you kind of just find a place to staple. So here, because we're at this point, we can go ahead and fill in all the spots. And I like to go through and not leave any gaps, because I like to know that my job is gonna be, it's gonna last. It's not gonna come apart. Okay, so you can go through when you're done with the chair and just fill in all the spots and you'll be fine. So now we're on the side. We did the same. We cut off we trimmed off the edge. So now we can just tuck it in when we get to that spot. What I like to do is come and go right to the middle again. If we start at one end, sometimes we end up with too much on the front end or the back end. So I like to start in the middle and make sure it's tight and do a little at a time. So I'll do the same thing until I'm over to the edge. And you can see that there's kind of bulging right there, but we'll get back to that. So I like to hold it right where I'm gonna have it folded in and tight, and then I just do this and come over and hold that edge right there. So if you see this bulging, you can go through, if it's bugging you already, like it always bugs me, I want to hurry up and just take care of it. The tension that you use on it is what's going to get you the easier, smoother finish. To do the tapered edge, which is really cute, like a finish like that, this cute little corner, I come down and I bring the corner down in the front first, and then I just bring my fabric over. Do you see how there's a gather right there? As soon as you bring the fabric over, it kind of disappears. And that'll be fine, smooth. The same with the other side. If you feel like it's not folding good enough, you can add another little staple right here, and it'll be easier to bring your corner down together. There's lots of tools that you can use for this. There's some that like to use, maybe their scissors to kind of like bring in like another tool just to like make it tight. I really just use my fingers. There's a lot of extra tools that you can buy that you really don't need to unless you're going to be doing big projects. Okay, so let's do the other side. We have the fabric on the chair. Now the fun part is just to put earplugs in. Well, I usually use earplugs the whole time, but because the compressor is so loud and the nail stapler is so loud, but you want to go through and fill up all the gaps that you see. Okay, we're done with stapling. This is not the funnest part, but it is so necessary. You have to get some really good scissors that have sharp points. And this is because all you're going to be using is the tip of your scissors to trim off the edge. If you're really good and have a really steady hand, you can use an X-Acto knife and just go through and kind of slice it. I do that sometimes if I'm have a really big job and my hands are already hurting. But you have to be careful because it will, if you slip, it will go down and scar your wood. Okay, so we're almost finished. This is so exciting. All that's left is the trimming, and we can do any kind of trimming we want. We can get trimming that we buy at the store in a roll and just glue it on. You can make piping. That can be another video that I do. You can even get the same fabric and cut strips and fold it in maybe thirds and glue it on. Sew it through the middle and glue it on. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cut a 1-inch strip, sew them together so that I can have a strip that goes all the way around. Sew it into thirds and then put it on with hot glue. I use hot glue, and then I'm gonna use little nail heads to trim it off. And so I'll show you the finished product when I'm done. Before I cut the trimming, I have to know how much I need. So you take your same strip tape and you just measure all the way around where you know that your trimming is gonna have to go to cover up all those staples that you just put in. I know I'm gonna need for 4 chairs, so whatever the length is, I'm gonna have to times it times 4 and cut that many strips out of fabric if that's what you're doing, if you're gonna sew some strips together. If not, make sure that you have enough rolls of the trimming that you're gonna buy from the store that's already pre-done. So then if you are gonna sew your strips, you measure them out, cut them, and then we can go to the machine. Okay guys, I do have a Juki. I swear by this machine if you're gonna be doing tons of sewing. It's an industrial machine, top of the line. I love it. But if you are just doing small projects, any sewing machine works at home if you're not using really thick upholstery fabric. This is just linen, so a regular sewing machine would work. So what I do is I cut my strips. These are 1-inch strips. I just get end to end, so there's 2 pieces. I put them together and just sew them together and cut the little piece off so it can be maybe as close as you can to the thread line without cutting the thread. And then you do with all the pieces, make sure that you are stitching on the very same side of all of them, or else you're gonna have the stitching side up and down, and you just don't want that with all the pieces of your strips. You want it all going the same way. So I only had to cut 3 strips because 3 strips would be enough for the whole, all 4 chairs. So when I start, I need to make sure that the inside stitching part, the stitching part is on the inside when I start folding it in half to make my trimming. So once I'm done, there's going to be strings everywhere. It doesn't matter. You can chop them off. I get my fabric and I fold it in and over to where it's just making my own trimming. If you're really good with the machine, it won't be a big deal. You can hold on to it and just keep going. So that is going to be our trimming. So just keep doing it for the whole thing. So this is what it's going to look like. You can hardly see the thread because it is almost the same color. So when you go through, just trim off all these. Oh, these are bad scissors, you guys. I really like these little scissors just for little work right at the machine. So this is what's going to look like. Let me get finished and then we'll go back to the chair. Sometimes you get done with your trimming and you look like you're wearing a ghillie suit. So the 1-inch strip turned into a little over a 1/4-inch strip. That's just preference. If you have a shaky hand and you can't sew really tight, if you didn't get as close to the edge of the chair stapling because it's your first time, don't worry. Just cut a wider strip to make a wider trimming and it'll cover up your staples. What I really want you to remember is just to be patient with yourself, because this is, maybe it's your first project. It's not as easy as it looks. I've been doing this for years. I just want you to be patient with yourself. Sometimes you just have to take a break and sit back and think, okay, I can do this. Be positive. There is professional upholstery glue that you can get. I use hot glue. This is gonna have nails on top of the stripping, so I think it'll be okay. So what I do is I take the edge and then bring it over. There's going to be strings from the sewing on the back raw edges, but it's okay. You just like cut them off. So that's how it's going to go. I put some glue, then attach. The strings that come out, they can just be cut off. Just continue all the way around. You can look up little nails online, get these maybe on Amazon. I like to use the carpet tacks because they're super small. I use the number 6. Unless you're going through really thick fabric, you might be able to get the number 10s, but these are short. They just need to go in a little bit into the fabric, into the wood. Make sure it goes into the wood. You can measure out where you want to put your nails, but I like to eyeball it. A lot of antique European furniture that we love is all made to where it's imperfect, and I like that look. So putting in the nail heads, and they're about 1 inch apart, and that's probably what I'll continue to do throughout the whole chair. I like to use my wire cutters to hold the head of the nail. I kind of just eyeball it and hammer it in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for my future videos. Catch you next time.